What if someone in your life disrupts your inner peace? Whether it's a family member, friend, colleague, or even a romantic partner, the impact of toxic relationships on our mental and emotional well-being can be profound. The tension, anxiety, and constant strain from dealing with these individuals can chip away at your sense of calm, leaving you feeling drained and conflicted. But what if the solution isn't to try and change the person causing the turmoil, but to change how you respond to them? What if, instead, the answer is to cut ties entirely? This is where Stoicism, an ancient Greek philosophy, can provide guidance. Stoicism teaches us that while we cannot control the actions of others, we can control how we react to them. The Stoic mindset emphasizes resilience, inner peace, and self-mastery, focusing on developing wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. When it comes to personal relationships, Stoicism suggests that we should not let the actions of others disturb our mental tranquility. By recognizing the limits of our control and the power of our own thoughts, we can navigate difficult relationships without losing our peace of mind. At the core of Stoicism is the concept of focusing on what we can control: our thoughts, reactions, and decisions. By adopting this mindset, we empower ourselves to protect our emotional well-being without feeling victimized by the negativity of others. Stoics understand that we cannot change other people, but we can choose how we respond. This means setting boundaries, recognizing toxic behavior, and, when necessary, removing ourselves from situations that no longer serve our peace of mind. Stoicism teaches us that self-preservation is not selfish. It's a necessary step to living a virtuous and fulfilling life. However, cutting ties with toxic individuals is never easy. The emotional complexities involved, guilt, fear of conflict, or the worry of damaging a relationship, can make the decision feel insurmountable. There's often a deep internal struggle that questions whether you're overreacting or if the relationship might improve over time. Stoicism doesn't suggest we make rash decisions, but it does encourage us to be rational and consider whether holding on to these toxic relationships is aligned with our values and goals. Letting go might be difficult, but in some cases, it is necessary to preserve our emotional health and inner peace. In the following sections, we will explore 13 signs that indicate it may be time to cut ties with toxic individuals. These signs are not always immediately obvious, but when recognized, they can serve as crucial markers for identifying unhealthy dynamics in your relationships. From constant emotional drain to disrespect for your boundaries, these signs will help you assess whether a relationship is contributing positively to your life or whether it's time to move on for the sake of your well-being. Let's dive into these signs and explore how they can guide you in making more informed, stoic decisions about the people you allow into your life. Stoicism emphasizes the importance of mental clarity and inner peace as foundational to living a virtuous life. A central tenet of Stoic philosophy is the idea of cultivating a calm and focused mind, unaffected by external turmoil or negative emotions. This mental clarity allows us to approach life's challenges with rationality and wisdom. Just as the Stoics believed in maintaining emotional balance to live virtuously, they also understood the significance of energy, specifically the energy that we direct towards various aspects of our lives. Preserving our energy is key to nurturing this clarity and maintaining our overall well-being. Energy, in a Stoic sense, can be seen as a finite resource that should be carefully managed. Our thoughts, actions, and reactions require energy, and if we spend too much of it on things outside of our control, we run the risk of depleting ourselves mentally and emotionally. The Stoics were aware that energy must be devoted to the pursuit of virtue and living in accordance with nature, rather than expending it on unhealthy relationships, unnecessary conflicts, or situations that drain us. When we allow others to consistently siphon our energy, we compromise our ability to maintain virtue, which in Stoicism is central to flourishing in life. Imagine a small flame in the dark, bright, warm, and steady. It represents our inner peace, our emotional balance, and our mental clarity. In this analogy, toxic individuals are the harsh winds that relentlessly blow at the flame, threatening to extinguish it. Each harsh word, manipulative behavior, or disrespectful action is like a gust of wind that weakens the flame. Over time, if these winds persist, the flame may flicker and eventually go out, leaving us cold and lost in the dark. Just as a flame needs protection from the wind, so too does our inner peace require us to safeguard it from toxic influences. When we allow these individuals to drain our energy, we risk losing our mental and emotional stability. Recognizing when someone is draining your energy is essential for protecting your peace. These are the people who consistently cause you stress, leaving you feeling exhausted after every interaction. You may notice that your thoughts often turn back to them, and the weight of their negativity lingers long after the conversation ends. You might feel mentally drained, unable to focus on other aspects of your life because you're preoccupied with the emotional toll the relationship takes. Perhaps you feel anxious, on edge, or emotionally depleted without clear reason, yet you find that the person causing this strain is always present in your life. The constant emotional drain and mental exhaustion are clear signs that the relationship is taking more from you than it's giving. To apply this concept in your life, it's important to become self-aware and mindful of how certain individuals affect you. Ask yourself, after spending time with this person, do I feel lighter, clearer, and more energized, or do I feel drained, anxious, or mentally clouded? If the answer is the latter, it may be time to reflect on the nature of that relationship. Stoicism teaches us that we have the power to control how much of our energy we give away. Protecting our inner peace is not only a matter of self-preservation, but also a way to live a virtuous and fulfilling life. In conclusion, recognizing the individuals who consistently drain your energy is crucial for maintaining your mental peace. By being aware of how toxic relationships affect your emotional and mental well-being, you can take necessary steps to distance yourself from these sources of negativity. In doing so, you protect your energy and preserve your ability to live with clarity and purpose, staying true to the Stoic ideal of mastering your own emotions and reactions. Boundaries are essential for maintaining healthy relationships and safeguarding our mental health. They act as protective barriers, helping us define where we end and others begin. Boundaries are not just physical limits, but also emotional, mental, and even spiritual lines that we set in order to preserve our sense of self, protect our well-being, and ensure that we are treated with respect. Without boundaries, we risk being overwhelmed, taken advantage of, or losing sight of who we are. Healthy boundaries allow us to interact with others in a way that is respectful, balanced, and grounded in mutual understanding. For Stoics, the concept of integrity is deeply intertwined with the respect for boundaries. Marcus Aurelius, a renowned Stoic philosopher and Roman emperor, frequently emphasized the importance of acting in alignment with virtue, truth, and justice. He believed that living with integrity meant respecting not only our own values, but also those of others. To respect someone's boundaries is to treat them with dignity and honor their autonomy. In Stoicism, maintaining personal integrity involves recognizing and upholding these boundaries, even when it's uncomfortable or difficult. Respecting boundaries is not merely about avoiding conflict, it's about cultivating a space where both parties can thrive without compromising their peace or sense of self. However, not everyone honors boundaries. There are many ways people can disregard them, often without realizing the harm they cause. A common violation of boundaries is invading personal space, whether physically or emotionally. For instance, someone might stand too close to you in a conversation, ignoring your discomfort. Or they might repeatedly make intrusive demands on your time or attention, disregarding your need for rest or personal space. Another example is overstepping emotional boundaries, constantly unloading their problems on you, expecting you to carry their emotional burdens without reciprocation or respect for your own feelings. These violations create an imbalance in the relationship, where your needs and personal limits are overlooked in favor of the other person's desires or expectations. The Stoic value of self-respect is central to boundary setting. Saying no is a powerful act of self-respect and courage. It requires the strength to prioritize your well-being over the fear of disappointing others or avoiding conflict. Stoicism teaches that self-respect is an essential part of living virtuously. By setting clear boundaries and having the courage to enforce them, you demonstrate self-respect and honor your emotional needs. Stoics recognize that saying no is not a selfish act, but rather a necessary one for preserving your peace, maintaining focus, and staying true to your values. When you say no, you are protecting your time, energy, and mental health, which is in alignment with the Stoic principle of taking control over what is within your power and letting go of what is not. In conclusion, cutting ties with individuals who disregard your boundaries is sometimes the only way to protect your mental and emotional well-being. These boundary violations are not merely inconvenient, they are detrimental to your sense of self and personal integrity. By recognizing the importance of setting boundaries and having the courage to say no, you protect your peace and cultivate relationships that are built on mutual respect. Stoicism teaches us that self-respect is essential for living a virtuous life, and part of that respect involves protecting our boundaries. If someone continually disregards these boundaries, it may be necessary to cut ties in order to preserve your mental clarity and emotional balance. Emotional abuse is a form of manipulation and control that often operates in subtle, covert ways, making it difficult to recognize and even harder to address. Unlike physical abuse, which leaves visible marks or injuries, emotional abuse is often invisible, occurring in the form of verbal attacks, manipulation, and psychological tactics designed to undermine a person's sense of self-worth, autonomy, and emotional well-being. The abuser might employ tactics like guilt-tripping, belittling, or withholding affection as means of controlling and diminishing the victim. Emotional abuse can be gradual, creeping into the relationship over time, often disguised as tough love or constructive criticism. However, its effects can be just as damaging, if not more so, than physical violence. The impact of emotional abuse on mental health is profound and long-lasting. Victims of emotional abuse often experience heightened levels of anxiety, depression, and chronic stress. The constant undermining of their self-worth and the relentless emotional manipulation they endure can leave them feeling isolated, confused, and powerless. Over time, their ability to trust their own judgment may be eroded as they begin to internalize the abusive behaviors. This can lead to diminished self-esteem, feelings of helplessness, and a deep sense of inadequacy. In many cases, individuals who are emotionally abused may even come to believe that they are responsible for the abuse or that they somehow deserve it, which further perpetuates the cycle of suffering. Stoicism offers valuable teachings that can help individuals protect their mental health in the face of emotional abuse. One of the core principles of Stoic philosophy is the importance of protecting our reason and not allowing destructive emotions to dictate our actions or thoughts. Marcus Aurelius, a key figure in Stoicism, emphasized that our thoughts and reactions are within our control, and we must cultivate the ability to respond rationally to external events. Emotional abuse often seeks to provoke strong reactions in the victim, whether anger, fear, shame, or guilt, intended to destabilize their emotional state. Stoicism teaches us that we should not be ruled by these emotions, as they cloud our judgment and prevent us from acting in accordance with virtue. By focusing on maintaining our inner peace and reason, we can protect ourselves from the corrosive effects of emotional abuse and make decisions that safeguard our well-being. There are various forms of emotional abuse, and it can manifest in many subtle ways. Gaslighting is a common tactic in emotionally abusive relationships. This occurs when the abuser manipulates the victim into questioning their perception of reality, making them doubt their own memories or experiences. The abuser may deny events, shift blame, or twist the truth, leaving the victim confused and insecure. Manipulation is another form of emotional abuse, where the abuser uses guilt, fear, or shame to control the victim's actions or decisions. Constant criticism, often disguised as constructive feedback, can also be emotionally abusive, as it erodes the victim's confidence and self-worth. Over time, these behaviors chip away at the victim's sense of self, leaving them feeling disoriented and emotionally drained. Building emotional resilience in the face of abuse is essential for protecting oneself. Stoicism teaches us the importance of maintaining inner strength even in the most difficult circumstances. One of the ways to build resilience is by recognizing that we cannot control the behavior of others, but we can control how we respond to them. In the face of emotional abuse, a Stoic approach involves acknowledging the abuse without internalizing it. This means recognizing that the abuser's actions are a reflection of their character, not yours, and that their words do not define your worth. By consistently reminding ourselves of our own values and focusing on what we can control, our thoughts, reactions, and actions, we can begin to distance ourselves emotionally from the impact of the abuse. To identify emotional abuse, it's important to be aware of the signs and recognize patterns of behavior that are harmful. Some actionable steps to protect yourself include recognizing when your thoughts and feelings are being manipulated or invalidated, paying attention to the frequency of belittling comments, or noticing whether the relationship is characterized by constant emotional highs and lows. If someone consistently undermines your confidence, isolates you from friends or family, or makes you feel like you can't trust your own judgment, these are red flags of emotional abuse. It's crucial to set boundaries with people who engage in these behaviors and to seek support from trusted friends, family, or a professional therapist who can help you navigate the situation. The Stoic practice of journaling and self-reflection can also help you clarify your thoughts and emotions, empowering you to make decisions that align with your well-being. In conclusion, cutting ties with emotionally abusive individuals is essential for protecting your long-term mental health and peace. Emotional abuse, though often invisible, is deeply damaging and can have long-lasting effects on your self-esteem and emotional stability. By applying Stoic principles, such as focusing on what you can control and protecting your inner peace, you can build the resilience necessary to step away from these harmful situations. Recognizing the signs of emotional abuse, setting clear boundaries, and seeking support are critical steps in protecting your mental health. Ultimately, cutting ties with those who emotionally abuse you is not only an act of self-preservation, but also a courageous choice to prioritize your well-being, allowing you to live in accordance with your values and inner peace. In Stoicism, personal growth and continuous self-improvement are fundamental aspects of living a virtuous life. The Stoics believed that the purpose of life is not merely to exist, but to cultivate wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. This pursuit of virtue requires ongoing effort, reflection, and growth, as the Stoics viewed life as an opportunity to become a better, more virtuous person every day. Marcus Aurelius, for example, often reflected on the need to be constantly improving, seeking to align his actions and thoughts with the greater good. In Stoicism, personal growth isn't just a matter of acquiring knowledge, but of actively shaping our character and making choices that reflect our highest values. However, not everyone in our lives may support this pursuit of growth. Toxic individuals, for example, may actively or passively discourage us from striving to improve ourselves. They may belittle our achievements, downplay our successes, or dismiss our ambitions. These individuals might undermine our confidence or dismiss the importance of personal development, trying to keep us stagnant or tethered to their own limited view of life. They may try to hold us back because they feel threatened by our progress, or they may be too comfortable with the status quo to understand or appreciate our desire for growth. This kind of behavior can be particularly damaging, as it creates an environment where we feel unworthy of pursuing our goals or discouraged from challenging ourselves. Healthy relationships, on the other hand, should be a source of support and inspiration for our growth. True friends, family members, or partners encourage us to pursue our dreams, challenge our limiting beliefs, and hold us accountable for our actions. These individuals recognize the importance of growth, both for themselves and for the people they care about. They create space for us to evolve, to take risks, and to make mistakes without fear of judgment. In a healthy relationship, growth is not seen as a threat, but as a mutual and shared goal. These relationships help us become better versions of ourselves, not only by supporting us when we face challenges, but by challenging us to go further and do better. If someone in your life is hindering your growth, it's important to assess whether their presence is truly serving you. One practical way to do this is by reflecting on how you feel after spending time with them. Do you feel motivated and inspired, or do you feel drained and discouraged? Do they celebrate your wins and encourage your goals, or do they try to downplay them or make you feel guilty for pursuing them? If you notice patterns of behavior where the person is dismissive, critical, or unsupportive of your growth, it's essential to take a step back and evaluate whether this relationship is adding value to your life or holding you back. In some cases, distancing yourself from people who aren't supportive of your growth can be a necessary step for moving forward in a more positive and fulfilling direction. In conclusion, prioritizing relationships that foster your growth is essential for living a virtuous and fulfilling life. The Stoic pursuit of growth encourages us to seek continuous improvement, aligning our actions with our highest values. Toxic individuals who hinder your growth can stifle your potential and create an environment of stagnation. Healthy relationships, on the other hand, challenge us to grow, learn, and become better versions of ourselves. By recognizing the signs of unsupportive individuals and making the decision to distance yourself from them, you can create space for relationships that nurture your development and help you become the best version of yourself. Stoicism emphasizes rational thinking and emotional control, particularly when faced with external challenges such as criticism. For Stoics, the ability to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively is key to living virtuously. When we face criticism, the Stoic approach encourages us to take a step back and assess whether the feedback is valuable or whether it's simply a result of someone else's emotions or prejudices. Rather than being ruled by anger or frustration, a Stoic strives to maintain clarity and focus on what is within their control, how they choose to interpret and respond to criticism. This mindset fosters emotional resilience and prevents us from becoming overly affected by negative feedback, allowing us to remain grounded in our own values and self-worth. However, there is a significant difference between constructive and destructive criticism. Constructive criticism is aimed at helping us improve by pointing out areas of weakness or offering advice on how to do better. It's delivered with respect and a genuine desire for the recipient's growth, often accompanied by actionable suggestions. This kind of feedback, though sometimes difficult to hear, can be valuable for personal development. Destructive criticism, on the other hand, serves no purpose other than to tear down, belittle, or demoralize. It's often vague, personal, and offered with little regard for the recipient's feelings or growth. Destructive critics might nitpick, insult, or belittle in a way that erodes self-confidence and damages self-esteem without providing any meaningful insight or support. Constant exposure to destructive criticism can gradually chip away at a person's self-esteem, leaving them feeling unworthy, insecure, and unable to trust their own judgment. Over time, this type of relentless negativity can lead to self-doubt and hinder personal growth. If a person is repeatedly told that they are not good enough or that their efforts are futile, they may start to internalize these messages, believing that they are inherently flawed. This self-critical mindset can hold them back from pursuing their goals or even from fully embracing their potential. Instead of being empowered to improve, they may feel stuck or paralyzed by the constant barrage of negativity. Criticism crosses the line into toxicity when it becomes personal or incessant. For example, nitpicking can be a form of subtle but harmful criticism where the critic focuses on trivial or insignificant flaws without offering any constructive advice. This kind of feedback often creates feelings of frustration and confusion, as it doesn't help the individual understand how to improve, but rather makes them feel constantly judged. Personal attacks, which target a person's character rather than their actions, are another example of toxic criticism. These attacks can leave lasting emotional scars, damaging relationships, and creating an environment of fear, shame, and insecurity. Stoicism offers an effective approach to handling criticism by promoting resilience and emotional detachment. The Stoic mindset encourages us to separate our worth from the judgments of others. If the criticism is constructive, we can accept it, learn from it, and use it to grow. However, if it is destructive, The Stoic approach teaches us to disregard it without internalizing it. By recognizing that we cannot control the thoughts and opinions of others, we can maintain our emotional stability and continue pursuing our own path without being swayed by negative or unwarranted feedback. The Stoics practice the art of maintaining their inner peace, regardless of external circumstances, and this approach can be particularly helpful in dealing with toxic criticism. In conclusion, constantly being criticized, especially in a destructive or personal manner, can have a detrimental effect on your self-esteem and mental health. Cutting ties with chronic critics is sometimes necessary to preserve your self-worth and peace of mind. By applying Stoic principles, you can learn to respond to criticism with rationality and resilience, focusing on what is within your control and protecting your emotional well-being. If someone consistently undermines your confidence through toxic criticism, it may be time to distance yourself from them in order to foster relationships that support your growth and respect your value as an individual. In Stoicism, relationships are built on mutual respect, fairness, and support. The Stoics believed that, just as we have a responsibility to contribute to the well-being of others, we also have a right to expect mutual respect and support from those around us. Healthy relationships are founded on reciprocity. Both individuals offer their time, energy, and emotional resources to one another in a balanced and equitable way. This exchange is not always perfect, but it should be rooted in a shared understanding of mutual care and responsibility. In Stoic philosophy, the value of justice extends to all aspects of life, including our personal relationships, where fairness, respect, and support are essential elements. A key aspect of healthy relationships is being there for each other, particularly in times of need. Emotional or practical support during difficult moments is a clear indicator of the strength of a bond. When someone is truly invested in a relationship, they make the effort to show up, whether it's offering a listening ear, lending a helping hand, or providing comfort during challenging times. A person who is genuinely supportive provides a sense of stability and connection, which helps to alleviate the burdens we all face at some point. On the other hand, if someone is consistently absent when you need them most, whether emotionally, physically, or mentally, it signals that the dynamic may be unhealthy and imbalanced. From a Stoic perspective, justice requires a balance of give and take, and it's not just about what we give to others, but also about receiving support when necessary. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that fairness and justice are central to our interactions with others, and that we must not tolerate relationships that lack these qualities. In the case of emotional or practical support, the absence of these qualities in a relationship can be a serious indication that the person is neglecting their responsibility to be there for you in a meaningful way. While no one can be expected to be perfect or to meet all of our needs all the time, consistent absence, especially during times of hardship, can reveal a fundamental lack of reciprocity and care. To assess whether someone is truly there for you, it's important to evaluate their behavior during your most vulnerable moments. Are they willing to listen when you're going through a tough time, or do they dismiss your concerns? When you need practical help, whether it's assistance with a task, emotional guidance, or simply a moment of reassurance, do they step up, or do they remain distant and indifferent? A supportive person doesn't just show up when things are easy or when they need something from you. They also show up when you're struggling, offering comfort, help, or just their presence when it matters most. If the person consistently fails to do this or disappears when things get difficult, it may be an indication that the relationship is one-sided and that they are not invested in your well-being